Welcome back.
Hello. We're continuing on with our Becoming an Embodied Catholic Leader series, talking about influencing for the sanguine. Mm-hmm. Cool. Erin bears her soul this time. I love you more after this podcast than I did before this podcast. And you guys are going to love Erin more after this podcast. And we're hoping that you love yourselves more. Like when we're going through these things and we're explaining kind of what is going on in our own interior life, we're praying also that the Lord is revealing something perhaps in your interior life, an area where you can be more loving. And so you can deal with whatever fears are driving you to that zone of manipulation, so you can more naturally enter that zone of influence where you're honoring that person, you're showing up as your best self, you're bringing your contributions to the table, you're becoming who you are, you're becoming a saint, all those great things. It's all jam-packed into this episode. And
I also want to say it's very possible to do, especially with God's grace.
Yeah.
So
we give you the path.
Stick around.
See you in there. Hey, cheers to your non-cup. Hey, there we go.
Cheers.
Welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. All you manipulators out there, no.
Humans.
It's influential. We're learning how to be influencers here. Continuing on with our Becoming an Embodied Catholic Leader series, focusing on the principle of influencing. Last episode, we talked about cholerics. Today, we're going to be talking about you sanguines, and Erin is going to be bearing her soul on this one. And it's a beautiful soul. You guys, it's a beautiful soul. She's awesome. So if you love Erin already, you're going to love her a lot more after this. But stick around, all right? She's going to be sharing her beautiful heart. All the sanguines right now are going, yes, I will, I promise.
Good. I love you, sanguines.
Cool. Okay.
Solidarity.
So leaning into this, in order for us to talk about influencing, we have to talk about it, juxtapose it, right, with the opposite, which is manipulation. Both influencing and manipulation try to change somebody's thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. One honors the person's freedom and finds ways to enhance their freedom so that they can make good free will choices. That's the influencing side. Very virtuous expression there. And then the other one does the opposite. It reduces or erodes their freedom, uses a lot of fear tactics there. That's like one of the things that we always see in manipulation. It's driven by fear.
And it's driven by fear,
yes.
too.
And the manipulator still, like when I say manipulator, it's just like, we think of somebody that's really terrible intentions. Guys, we do this with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
Right? But when it's coming from a place of fear, it will show up as manipulation. And when the Lord is allowing us to, like, when we own our manipulation, we own those areas of our life that we haven't received the Lord's love in the way that He wants to give it to us. And that fixes it. Yes.
Perfect love casts out fear.
Thank you for bringing that up. I was thinking about that before we got started. That's right on for this one. Perfect love casts out fear.
But we have to open it up to His perfect love, because so often we think we need to be the source of the perfect love, and we can't. We are utterly unable to do that.
We can't even love ourselves perfectly.
Yeah.
And we have to receive that perfect love, right? Okay, so we're going to be talking about how here the sanguine can, maybe has some typical triggers that might thrust them into a zone of manipulation, right? But then how does that sanguine come back to that zone of influence? Erin's going to be sharing some examples of her life. But the goal here is for us to be good influencers, because influencers get people on board. Manipulators repel people, and then nobody follows your vision, and we never have God's vision of His kingdom coming on earth as it is in heaven.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ready to jump into it? Is there anything else we need to share
Did we go through the steps of each one? So I think it's important scenario, we're going to go through the following steps.
5 steps.
Yeah. We're going to name the manipulation tactic, because there's like a lot of different ways, actions that show up that are manipulative. We're going to identify the internal and external triggers that kind of like propelled you into that action. We're going to identify where we're failing to own our own stuff and abdicate to others, and also where we're trying to take what is not ours and own that ourselves. And then number 4, we are getting curious about the fear, because remember we were talking about manipulation. Usually when we are manipulating, we're acting from this place of self-protection of sorts. So to identify what that thing is that we're afraid of. and what we're trying to protect.
I'd argue even the usually is more accurately and always.
Oh yeah. Sorry, did I say usually?
Yeah, it's like just know that if you're manipulating, there's something that you're afraid of. There's something that you're protecting, right?
Yep. And then you want to find a common goal with that person and really see like where your strengths, I guess like your in this case sanguine traits, sanguine contributions can lend to that collective goal.
Yeah, ultimately the foundation of an influential relationship, a virtuous influential relationship, are two people share a common vision, a common goal, a common good, and they're willingly pursuing it together, right? It's also the foundation of a loving relationship. John Paul II talks about this in his Personalism. So that's the goal. But if you think about those 4 steps that Erin just shared,
5.
The 5, thank you, 5. The first 4 all have to do with you. Mm-hmm. Nothing else, it's all our work to do, guys. And this is laying the foundation for just moving from that zone of manipulation. And then finally, that 5th step is what moves us into that zone of influence where we find that common ground. We start to lean into our strengths of temperament to find that common goal that we're going to pursue together. And it lays the foundation for that loving, influential relationship. Yeah,
laying foundation. That's a big piece here, because if you're here looking for influencing tactics, we're not really going to give those to you. We're giving you the foundation so that you can receive those influencing tactics, and it doesn't turn into that place of manipulation.
Yeah, it's not going to be like, start mirroring back the words that people say to you, right? And use their name often.
And here's the interesting thing too. I'm going a little off cuff, but I follow a lot of these people. I have their books. It's like body language experts and stuff like that, because it's fascinating to me. And also it's like very much theology of the body. Like we can't really lie with our bodies, you know? So I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but there's a point. I've listened to a lot of these people who write these books, these experts who write these books, and people have interviewed them, and they've said, how do you know people aren't going to use this for manipulation? And these people, it pains them to say, I know people will. I know that they will use this, and it's like so painful that is the case. And that's why we're addressing this here, because when we don't address the interior disposition first, all the other stuff, it will just lead you down like the rabbit hole you don't want to go down.
Yes. So you can live in that place here, folks, of the manipulation. Never deal with what you're afraid of. Never invite the Lord into that space. And you can arrive at that goal, right? You'll probably break a lot of people along the way and hurt a lot of people and hurt yourself, right? But you can still arrive at that goal, and then you'll still be miserable at that goal because you haven't really dealt with what the Lord wants to deal with. And he wants to come into you. He wants to heal that place of brokenness.
Transformation.
He wants to transform you, right? Like, and come in here. And this is what grace does. This is the beauty of the Christian life. And this is the hope that we share as Christians, that God literally wants to change us, not just on a interior level, but on a bodily level. And this is beautiful. Okay.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
All right. You're going to coach me?
Coaching hat on. Good. My nicely sculpted hair. Okay. Erin.
Yes.
Let's dive into your beautiful interior life. Tell me, give me a recent manipulation tactic that showed up in your life.
People pleasing.
We
talked a little bit about this in our first podcast. By the way, if you're like, wait a second, people pleasing is not a manipulation tactic. Well, it is if you're lying. If you're saying yes and you really mean no, it's kind of a manipulation tactic. It's not truthful.
All right. I'm saying yes so you feel good.
And in this case, it's coming from fear. So
okay. All right. So give me what's the example behind it?
Well, recently on our team, we have been wanting to make a lot more content. And up until now, I've been like the primary content creator on our team. And I will just continue to say yes. I'll be like, yes, I can do that. Because, I mean, truthfully, I love doing it. It's easy for me.
Yeah,
I know I can.
Into your working genius.
I know I can create it, and I can create it quickly. It doesn't always look pretty, which is why we have editors and people who kind of, spell check things for me.
Grammarly, thank you.
Yes. But yeah, like it's just kind of like, I'm like, yes, I can do it. And when I was leaning into this and kind of doing some preliminary work before we were coaching, I started to find out I think I'm like people pleasing people with this.
Okay, so we've named it step 1, people pleasing. Let's move on here. Like step 2, what were the things that were triggering you into this?
I think it was the fear of being misjudged. Like that would be like the external trigger was like, just like, I don't want to be misjudged. Or feeling judged by others.
Okay. So internally feeling judged, externally other people are judging me.
Yeah, and judging me, like being like, I mean, what does she even do here? You know, like that kind of like
you think that all the time.
She's lazy and like just not productive.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know.
Yeah.
That I'll tell you what, that has been a judgment that has been with me my whole life. And part of it is just, you know, having ADHD and being kind of flighty and like, you know, like losing focus easily. So I think that's probably, I don't know, something that goes much deeper than this, but like, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's keep going with it. So there's this external trigger of like the team is judging me. And the team is judging me, perhaps even judging me for being lazy.
Yeah.
And not making a contribution, not pulling my weight.
And literally nobody's ever said this out loud.
I will fight them. Okay.
Well, no, but nobody's ever said this out loud. I think it's like, and I know it's like an interior judgment.
Okay. All right. And then internally you feel judged and like disconnected from the team?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
And like probably shame there. Like
shame
I would
too,
say if we get really deep, that's probably the bottom layer.
Okay.
Shame, like, why are you the way you are? Why would you much rather be on a couch than creating content?
Got it. Okay. All right. So we got some triggers. That's step 2. Step 3. Let's look at just the locus of control piece. So what is what are you giving over to somebody else that's within your locus of control here?
Well, I think I'm giving the ability to affirm over to others.
Okay.
Right. Like I need that in order to feel a certain way.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
I need people to, I don't know, say to me like, hey, good job.
In order to feel what?
In order to feel productive, I guess.
Productive?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the feeling of productive, like I'm wondering, appreciated?
Appreciated, yeah.
Appreciated. Okay. So to feel appreciated.
Or adequate, like just adequate.
Okay.
Adequate at my job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adequate, competent at your job. Okay. So this feeling of competence, adequacy, productive,
they're all opposite of lazy, which is like really the fear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's in order for you to feel that, which is a feeling that's yours, right? Somebody else has to.
Yeah. I'm like waiting. I guess I'm waiting for them to like say something so I can feel a certain way.
Got it. Okay. So there's abdicating this emotional responsibility.
Yes.
Okay. Over to somebody else. Got it. Okay. All right. What are you grasping control at? That's outside of your
their perception of me. Okay. And this is where I think people pleasing, just as a general rule, I think us people pleasers think if we change our actions, like in this case, say yes to everything, that other people's perceptions of you will change, and it will, but it won't be honest. It won't be an honest perception. So yeah, that's
okay. So you say yes, and you say it feels what, dishonest then?
Yeah, it feels like I say it compulsively, like, yes, I can do it, you know? And this is such a sanguine trait too. Like, I'm very excited and like bought in that I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you probably believe that you can do it too. Yeah.
But then later, I'm like all resentful. at myself for saying yes. Okay. And then I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? Like, I don't have enough time to do this. I've already agreed to all these other things, and like I just feel frazzled inside my mind.
Okay. And so like later on, it sounds like even abdicating that yes over to somebody else. Like I didn't have any control over this yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Like this like sanguine monster came out of me and it's just like, yes.
Yes, I want all the things.
I can do it all. Just kidding.
Okay. All right. So like that's we can see where there's the abdication and then also the grasping that's going on there. All right. What's underneath this, Erin? What's this protecting? This people pleasing.
I mean, I think it's protecting just this. Let me see what I wrote down actually, because I think it's different actually. I think it's protecting this image that I have it managed. I have it all together. Like I have it like figured out. Like, look how productive I am. Like my whole life, and I'm saying this, my whole life, I had all my ideas trapped up here. Mm-hmm. And now it's like a place to like let them all out. I often think back to these moments in my life where I didn't know about coaching. I didn't know about all of this work. I didn't know that I could actually use my creativity to do something that I really, really loved and actually make a living doing it. Like I didn't know any of that was an option. And I feel sorry because I look back at all those hours wasted of just like, I don't know, like watching TV, like just doing other things. And it wasn't really doing my life's work. And I think part of this is like, I'm so excited to share these things, but also so there's a strong underlying current of like responsibility, but there's a fear of going back to that place of like wastefulness.
Okay. A fear of going back to the wastefulness, like a strong aversion.
Yes.
Of going back to that.
And
the guilt perhaps
and
that
shame.
Sounds like is around there.
The shame. It's there. Like, it was like all dormant. Like all of like what was in here. It was like just
buried talents.
Yes.
Buried talents.
Yeah. And that feels like so icky. I would say I'm afraid of, or I'm protecting myself from that feeling of shame.
And so like the productive Erin,
yes,
right, is almost like that manager part that's now standing in front of that exiled part of just like that just kind
wasted
of wants
time.
Well, I'm wondering if there's a part of you that doesn't want to necessarily be so productive, that just wants to be, just loved even in that space of like not having to produce, but just like, because here it's like I have to produce and I have to say yes in order to feel appreciated and feel adequate and feel competent. What if like, and even like you share even with the ADHD and even with your strengths. I mean, we think of production being really an executor talent. Like Erin's first executor talent is number 16. So like there's leaning on, and it's not that you are incapable of doing it, but it just requires more energy of you. And I can see that just the exhaustion that's there. That can be a result of constantly producing, even if you have a knack for it, even if you're good at it, and even hearing that, well, I have these gifts, I should be using them. Right?
Yeah. Don't I have to use them?
Don't I have to use them?
Yeah.
If I stop, or if I say I can't do more, or if I say no, am I burying my talents? Am I now? And if that's the case, I should feel guilty for doing so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Like you wicked and lazy servant.
Ooh, gnashing of teeth. Okay.
Right.
So, all right. So there's this, like, what does it look like to, okay, so we're protecting yourself from like this part of you that just
The wicked and lazy servant.
Okay. Yeah, but like I don't even know if it's like you're calling it the wicked and lazy servant.
I know.
Right.
I know. But like I want to give it a name in a sense where it's just like, okay, this is the one that I'm like trying to get away from, like the feeling of shame, that feeling of wastefulness. But also just to hold space for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like if you were to like allow that quote wicked lazy servant, which I think is this, I think is the inner critic really showing up there and speaking that over this person. Sure. But if you were just allowing that person that didn't want to do the production work, that wanted to still
the
feel
part of me that
still feel
that
appreciated,
just wants to like feel connected with others.
Yeah, like what? Okay, starting to get it. Just wants to feel that connection. Like, what does it want? What is it really asking for here?
I think that part of me, I think I'm looking for rest and just places to receive, from the Lord, places to just, rest.
Rest.
Like resting is not wasteful, but I feel like I kind of believe that it is, Okay. So like that, and I've never thought that before I started like doing something that I love. And that throws a wrench in the plan too, because it's like, I really love doing this. And so it does feel like recreation in a way. It feels like playful, but even if you're playing all day long, like there comes points of rest. Like you need to rest.
Okay. I need to rest.
Like, so if the Lord was speaking to me in that really like deep place, like you don't need to be productive, but it's also just like, it's time to rest.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
How do you receive that when the Lord says, Erin, it's time to rest and it's okay to rest?
I think it's going to take a little bit of time.
Okay.
To like talk with him through that. And like, you mean it's okay? Like, okay, this is so weird. The scene from Annie came to mind, and it's like when she's about ready to go clean like the mansion. This is from the 1980s version, by the way. The best version of it. But she's going to clean the mansion, and what's her name? The woman who like just brought her in to Daddy Warbucks' house. She like picks up this like, Annie picks up this sponge and she's about ready to like clean. She's like, but I'm supposed to earn my keep. And she said, you don't need to earn your keep. You're a guest here. Right. And it was just like, it kind of, that I feel like that scene from the movie is like a really telling moment of what's going on right now. Like, I feel like I'm trying to earn my keep in a way.
Yeah. Well, what if the Lord is inviting you into Daddy Warbucks' mansion and you allowed yourself to start singing, I think I'm going to like it here.
I like it. I think I'm going.
So, okay. All right. So, thank you.
Hey, thanks.
I love this part of you. That wants to rest. Because you know what? When that part of you rests, I feel like I have permission to rest a little bit too. All right. Okay. When that part doesn't rest, I not to make this about me, but like I think this is a natural.
I become the taskmaster of both of us.
I think it's just a good. It's one of your gifts as a sanguine here as well is making fun, like making things fun, and even being able to connect well, enjoy that
and
company
being
of
present,
one another.
Being present, I think that's a big piece.
Yeah. Okay, so we even see like this is something that happens here too, guys. When we go in that zone of manipulation, we abdicate some of our gifts here as well. And so we don't show up authentically as ourselves.
We become less of ourselves.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's kind of like our step 4. We've explored that. And step 5 here, Erin. So like speaking with the team here, what is a way that you can start to kind of move out of that zone of manipulation into the zone of influence and find that common goal that we can share together?
Yeah, I think ultimately the common goal is like we do want more content creation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if we are to expand, like there's got to be more than one person who's doing that. And so I can use some of my contributions of just like I guess, influencing and inspiring people to find like creative solutions. Like it doesn't only have to be me. Like one thing that I love doing too is just like helping, teaching other people how to fish, right? Like not just giving the man a fish, but like teaching others. So like I love the idea of teaching other coaches or people on our team how to create content, if they have that natural skill and ability and they want to. So that's one thing. I think it's just also being honest. Like that's another thing with sanguines is just like this level of vulnerability. Like they're willing to go first and they're willing to say like, this is a lot for me. This is too much for me. And so, even just leaning into that in the honesty there.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, even just like, it's like, yeah, we want to create more content, but like the common goal could also be that like, hey, we don't want to burn people out at the same time. And so that's because everybody can accept that there's a place called of burnout, right? We're finite human beings. We certainly experience it. Nobody necessarily likes to admit that, right? But that's part of our growth is like pushing the limits, finding that burnout level, and then just like swallowing the humble pride, saying I've maxed out, and then the team's got to grow, right? And so, or you got to grow, or the team's got to grow, or something needs to grow at that point. Okay, Erin, great job on that first one.
Thank you. I feel like fuzzies all over my faces.
You're beautiful.
Ah, thanks.
I like this. This is just like leaning into my ideal conditions. I feel so connected. Awesome. Okay. Let's move on to Erin's next idiotic moment of manipulation. Okay. All right. So topic number 2 here. Give me another example of a manipulation tactic.
Guilt tripping.
Yeah. Never seen this one show before.
The good old tried and true guilt trip.
Okay. All right. So recent example of when you guilt tripped all over somebody.
Well, it has a lot to do with this last one where I've actually said this aloud to you. I'm the only one who creates content.
Now it's happened once or twice. Yes.
I know that's not a fact, but I guess I could argue I create a lot of the content.
Okay.
So like, and that was like this guilt tripping. That's what I was saying to you.
Okay. So example, I'm the only one that's creating the content. I find a lot of evidence that I create a lot of the content, but I say this thing out loud. I'm the only one that creates content. And that's you guilt tripping whoever is around. You want them to feel guilty for me. Okay. Feel guilty
so, I mean, you're
for
the one
asking,
who I said it to.
Okay. Got it. Guilt tripping me for asking or saying anything about creating more content. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the step 2? What was the internal, external triggers that we
the internal trigger is the emotions of loneliness. And when I was actually going through this relationships, the temperament relationship,
which is it's a new guide that you created. I'm really excited for this. This is going to be, we're going to be rolling this out a little bit more.
Yeah. When I was looking through that, I was like, wow, that like really hit at home with me. I was like lonely. Like I feel lonely in this area and I feel disconnected too, because like I got into the coaching world because I like connecting with people. I like doing group coaching. I like doing one-on-one coaching. And like, I didn't really get into it to create content and just kind of was one of those things where it's like, it's easy for me and I don't mind doing it.
And you're good at it. Yeah. It's a gift.
Yeah. And there's sometimes I like it. Sometimes I'm like, I'm tired of it, but it's, so I felt disconnected and lonely. And then, one of the external triggers for a sanguine is having to do something in isolation, like feeling like you have to do something in isolation. And another one is others not noticing or affirming my contributions. And I will add to that perseverance. Others not noticing my perseverance. Like, look, I just keep going,
Okay. Yeah.
So feeling like a little kind of, I guess, self-pity and like, pity party here. But, I think at the root of it though, is just feeling like I really want to connect with people and like, this is something that I just do on my own.
Got it. Okay. So that's kind of like, we'll hold on to that. Like I really, at the root of it, I really want to connect with people. Okay. Let's move to step 3 here and explore inside, outside your locus of control. What is something that is inside your locus of control that you're passing off to somebody else?
I think just the feeling of loneliness and disconnection.
Okay.
Like saying like, it's other people's faults, like, or let's go hire people to fix this feeling of loneliness. Which is a solution. You could do that, but like, it's not other people's job to fix that for me. And that's freeing to know that.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Something that I am trying to change out on the outside, trying to move is really, I don't know. You can ask me.
What about like what's the thought? What's the thought? Like, what's the thought? Like, even the thought that you're sharing, I'm the only one that creates content.
Mm-hmm. What's the thought?
Yeah. So that's like, you can own like, hey, what's it like to own that? Like, yes, this is a thought that I have. Yes. I'm the only one that creates content.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a thought. And like all the words that I'm using in that thought.
Okay.
To only one, right? Like I imagine those would create more loneliness.
Got it. Yeah.
Than anything. But yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay. Something like, what about even like your ability to show up here and solve, like, you're a creative problem solver. It's one of your gifts as your sanguineness, right? And your high ideation here. Like, are you bringing even any of those gifts forward to kind of solve this problem of creating more content without overburdening the people on the team?
No.
You particularly.
And I think part of this too is I've never looked at it on a deeper level. Like I've never noticed that it was like, oh, it's the loneliness. It's like the disconnection.
Okay. All right. Okay. What is something that you'd say is outside of your locus of control that you're trying to grasp control of?
Maybe you can help me.
I mean, like, so I know specifically, like, the event that triggered this is like, we had a meeting on a Friday. Erin had friends in town. She wasn't at that meeting. And one of the goals that we had set for, 2024 was to have like 15 of these courses done by the end of the year. And so I remember, Erin, you looking at that thing specifically, and I might have been the person that wrote that down. But that being something that was like sitting there on the paper. So like the team made a decision in this draft blueprint for 2024, right? Said 15 pieces of content. Is that something that's inside or outside of your locus of control?
Oh, that you guys already made that? Yeah, that's outside my locus of control.
Okay. So like the team thought this was a good idea. That's outside of my locus of control. What they think, what their values. Okay. All right.
I think another thing too is like what if other people even notice my contributions? Like that's another thing that's outside my locus of control. Like what they think about my contributions.
Their affirmation, right? Their acknowledgement, of you.
But I would say at the root of it, it's just like whether or not people want to create content with me. Like that's because that's kind of where my mind is going for the solution for this.
Got it. Yeah. And even if we're so overloaded that everybody's got to go into their own little silos and their cubicles to do all their work, and we're just head down, it sounds like it's a recipe for you being by yourself to create content.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing. I do it all the time by myself to create content. And there are elements that I need that alone time to do that. But I guess I'm not realizing, I'm realizing this just right now, like how if that's an ongoing thing and like that's all how I do it, like it's just very draining.
Yeah. Okay. So like I hear here also is like I'm abdicating. There's this perception that I'm the one or somebody else is responsible for creating my ideal conditions to create content.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's like I'm abdicating that. There's no request. I don't have any ability here to set those conditions that are ideal for me to feel energized and really even looking forward to the content creation that I'm really good at.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Underneath all of this, like what's there, Erin? What are you protecting with the in this case the guilt tripping?
I think the loneliness. I would say I'm afraid to feel lonely, or more so at the bottom of that because loneliness is like sadness, like it's a derivative of sadness. And so like more so like have a real aversion to sadness. I mean, it's not shocking to any other sanguines out there, right? We don't really like to feel sad. We're okay. Like it just, we'd rather not, you know? I personally do not understand why people watch sad movies more than once, especially if you're like crying your eyes out. I'm like, oh, that is like so draining for me.
I watch the end of Field of Dreams usually 3 times a week.
Like that's his indulgence.
Do you want to have a catch? Oh.
Like I'm like, that's so painful for me. Like,
or the end of the opening of The First Chosen.
Why would you want to feel so sad so often? Like that's kind of my thought.
It's more
I'm like,
moved anyways, but it's not about me. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
All right. So the sadness. So it's protecting this part of you that doesn't want to feel lonely.
I think it's also too, it's like protecting me from that sadness, but also I think it's protecting me from this fear of seeming needy.
Okay.
You know, seeming like I do need other people to help me. And I think I've worked through that. I'm kind of halfway through that, you know, but that just came up to me. It's just like needing somebody else to create content with. Like my mind is like kind of fighting with me right now. It's like being like, but you can do it by yourself. I'm like, I understand that. But I actually really desire to work with people and have like a collaborative thing.
Wow. Okay. All
yeah.
Right. So there's this part of you that desires to work with other people, desires to collaborate, but you have this aversion to it. Why? Because it's burdensome?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to like, I don't know, like we have limited resources, like limited people on our team, and I don't want to be like, hey, give up your time where you're doing this over here and like come like body double with me because I need that, you know? Like that's like disgusting to me. Like that's my thought in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be something that's actually, you know, could be something that's actually very rewarding to other people.
Yeah.
That don't necessarily have that gift of the ideation, but they want to be part of the, you know, putting flesh on kind of the vision that you've got. And they're really good at that. And we took Working Genius recently here, folks, and realized that there's a lot of people that we've been demanding a lot of content creation from that don't necessarily have that innovation.
Oh, invention.
Invention. Yeah. That invention side, part of them that's up front. And even in some cases, that invention side is like in their, you know, frustration area. So how do we partner, right? How do we live as body? And okay, so we've got this part of you. We can see where the guilt tripping is protecting this part of you that doesn't want to be seen as a burden for desiring to create with other people or be with other people.
Yeah.
Like desires to create in partnership.
Yep.
Oh, like I'm not holding this space anymore because it's just like my heart is moved as your husband, but as your partner here, like business partner, not like life partner. She's my wife here, folks. Like just like I feel moved by it. Like I want to help create that space. I want to be a part of it. And it's just like, yes, sometimes it comes off as a burden, but it's like that's I get to choose that burden here too. And it's a burden just because it stretches me. Right. And that's my space to be able to say, hey, I got to cry uncle here and I can't, I've reached my limitations. That's my work here to do and for everybody on the team. But goodness, Erin, like I love creating with you. I love that you're no longer building these podcasts in isolation. Before, that's what we were doing for a while. And I love this is like my favorite part of the week. One of my favorite parts of the week. I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Thanks.
Okay. So how can we better love this part of you? Talk to your husband and do a podcast with him. Okay. All right. So like just what are some ways, Erin, that like in the circumstance when it comes to like creating more of the common good, right? That we're on step 5 here. How do you move from that guilt trip manipulation more into the zone of influence by creating that common good and leaning into your contributions for your sanguineness?
Well, okay, the common good it's it's kind of the same one as last time. Like that common goal is just like create more content. But maybe it was just so funny going through this and like really kind of sparsely writing this out and not fully thinking about it. But how little I actually invited people into the creative process. Like it took me almost like felt like years to like actually ask you to like come in and like collaborate with me on the podcast. I'm like, hey, can we do this together? But also realizing that some people want to do that, and that it can be encouraging to people and even a gift to say like, hey, like we're about ready to like roll out this new product and I want to bring you into that process. And like, I want to hear what you have to say here. Because I find that 2 brains are better than 1. And like, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of people on our team who foresee a lot of things that I don't see. And so we can kind of mitigate some of those problems out of the gate. And, you know, it could be helpful for the company altogether. And so I think, if I want to go back to the similar contributions, it's just like that willingness to be vulnerable and ask for help and just to say like, yeah, this might sound burdensome and you have freedom to say no, but hey, would this be something you'd like to do? It's kind of funny. The other day, Abby said this. She was like, hey, if you just want to meet and like we collaborate on that, like I can kind of bring some of my strengths to this. I was like, oh, yes, thank you. It was just like such a relief.
Yeah. And honestly, I think you would, my guess is you would actually create more content with that partnership than
focused
having
content.
to do. Goodness gracious. Yeah. She's got some tenacity and some focus in there.
Yeah, which is like so awesome in an area where I struggle with. I'm like, what do I need to create? I feel like there's a lot. And so to have someone just go, this one, let's focus on this one. I'm like, thank you. So
Body double.
It takes a lot of,
Cool. Erin, great job.
Thank you.
You're beautiful. Thanks. I love you more than when we started this podcast.
Now you can remind whenever I complain to you, I'm the only one. Like now you have a whole podcast you can recommend to me.
I'm going to start playing the Annie soundtrack. I think I'm gonna like it here. All right, let's go take a break.
I think I'm gonna like it here.
Wonderful. Hey, folks, thanks for being with us. What are those 5 things again? Step 1, name the manipulation tactics. Step 2, we're looking at the triggers. Step 3, we're looking where we're inside or outside of our locus of control. 4, we're looking at what we're trying to protect. What's the fear that's behind that manipulation tactic? Because it's always there. And 5, we're asking, what's that common good that we can partner with somebody that we want to influence and we can move collectively towards that common good, leveraging our strengths of temperament. Okay. We've got the melancholics and the phlegmatics. Next, we'll be leaning into those pieces there. I'll be the one in the coaching seat again. But we've got Become Who You Are coming up here, folks. All right, Become Who You Are. It's going to be our first in-person event. It's going to be in Fort Lauderdale, May 7th through the 10th of 2024. And we're really excited about this. This is going to be a place where if you want to dive in, you want to learn how to actually be a mentor for people in their temperaments, you're going to be walking away with exactly that, a temperaments mentorship, which we're pumped for. Temperaments has been huge.
We've been wanting to do this for so long. And we see such an ache, such a hunger for information on temperaments, but also not just more information, but like the how-to. How do you do this? All of these things that we're talking about, these assessment charts, like you will have access to those, which is so awesome.
Tools, techniques, like the ability to do this work yourself, but also come alongside somebody else and help them experience all the transformation that you've experienced through this. I mean, like this is like a way for people to really be seen. We're in a world right now where people just don't feel seen.
Yeah.
Some of the beautiful things when you start looking at unique design, and temperaments is just one way of many ways that you can explore unique design. There's an experience of being seen. Like we even hear people say, I feel so seen by my temperaments. I feel so seen by my report. It's a real thing. And guys, if we don't acknowledge the unique design that's going on, the unique design that God has given us, we're going to struggle to really understand our purpose, because design reveals purpose. You look at the design of something, you can understand the purpose of the designer, and God is our designer, our unique designer, fearfully, wonderfully made, fashioned in the depths of the earth, knows our thoughts from afar, like Psalm 139. That's our God.
Yeah.
We want people to experience that.
So if you are a mentor of any sort, if you work for a church, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, if you're a spouse, and you're like, that would be so cool to be a temperaments mentor, come check it out.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a flippin' party too. So put your party hats on. And it's Florida. Gosh, in May, it's wonderful.
Yeah, early May.
Cool.
Not hot Florida May.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, bye guys.
See you guys. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.